Hey guys, welcome back to Kinetix Performance Coaching, your home for information on strength, nutrition, and longevity. So here's something that surprises a lot of people whenever they first have a consultation with me. You can actually lose weight and make your body composition worse. And a lot of people come to me saying, oh, I need to lose weight, I need to lose weight. And one of my phrases is, you're not overweight, you're under-muscled. And that's because body weight itself doesn't really tell us very much. If somebody tells me they lost 10 pounds, my first question isn't necessarily, how did you do it? My question would be, what did you actually lose out of that weight? Because there's a big difference between losing 10 pounds of mostly body fat and losing 10 pounds where a significant portion of that weight came from lean muscle. And this is why I'm such a big believer in looking beyond the scale. We have to know the deeper side of our body composition. And when we look at that body composition, we're trying to understand all the details of what that weight's actually made of. How much of that total weight is lean tissue? How much of it is body fat? Even within that body fat, there's where is it being stored? Because not all fat behaves the same way. You have the subcutaneous fat, which is the fat stored beneath the skin. That's the fat most people are thinking about when they're looking in the mirror and they're trying to get leaner. But then you have the more important thing, the visceral fat. The visceral fat is stored deeper inside the abdominal cavity around the internal organs. And metabolically, that's the one I'm paying a lot of attention to. Higher levels of visceral fat are strongly associated with things like insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, fatty liver disease, chronic inflammation in general, and just a number of other metabolic problems. So when I'm looking at somebody's DEXA scan, I'm not just saying, okay, you weigh 170 pounds. I want to know what exactly that 170 pounds consists of. Because two people can weigh exactly the same amount and have a completely dramatically different health profile and body composition profile. One person may have significantly more muscle relatively to low visceral fat and a healthier overall body fat percentage. Another person may have much less muscle, significantly more visceral and total body fat. Same scale weight. I used to always say, the Hulk weighs 1,000 pounds, but he's not overweight. And potentially a very different metabolic picture and a very, very different body with that same scale weight. And this is also why aggressive dieting can sometimes backfire. Someone cuts their calories way down. Maybe they're barely eating, they're not getting enough protein, and they're not doing enough resistance training. The scale starts dropping quickly, so they think, oh, this is great. But some of that weight loss may be muscle, and if it is, that's really not a good thing. Because if you lose a significant amount of that while still carrying a relatively high amount of body fat, you can end up lighter on the scale without being metabolically better off. Your body fat percentage may barely improve. In some cases, it gets worse. And that's, the tissue that you need. It's incredibly valuable for your long-term health. So that's one of the reasons I describe myself as a muscle-centric coach. Because what I'm trying to do is not simply make somebody weigh less. I really want to improve that body composition. And when I'm working with them and they start to build lean tissue and they start to lose fat, hopefully visceral, I call it a 10-pound conversion. So if they lose 5 pounds of fat and gain 5 pounds of muscle, that's a 10-pound conversion. They're completely the same weight, but they're metabolically completely different now. And that's what I want to do. I want to preserve whenever possible and build lean muscle. I want to bring excessively that body fat down, and I want to see visceral fat moving in the right direction. And when we do that, we're improving a lot more than somebody's appearance. Muscle is a major site for glucose disposal. Remember, muscle burns calories. It plays a huge role in insulin sensitivity, physical function, strength, energy expenditure, and how well we age. And it's not just muscle. It's tendons, connective tissue, right? So when somebody builds muscle while reducing excess fat, particularly visceral fat, we're creating a body that's generally much better equipped to handle nutrients, regulate blood sugar, stay physically capable, and maintain metabolic health. And this is where that nutrition comes back into the picture, because good nutrition isn't simply about eating as little as possible. The question is, are we actually feeding the body in a way that supports the tissue that we want to keep? And are you getting enough protein? Are you eating enough overall nutrition to support the training and recovery you're doing? Are you resistance training hard enough to actually give your body a reason to hold on to muscle? And are we creating an appropriate caloric deficit if the fat loss is the goal, without simply just starving the weight and the lean mass off of your body, right? So sometimes you'll hear people say all health begins in the gut, because there's obviously an important relationship between nutrition, digestion, the gut microbiome, inflammation, and metabolic health. I think we have to look at the whole metabolic system, your muscle mass, your visceral fat, your blood sugar regulation, your activity, your nutrition, your sleep, your recovery. Every one of those things is interacting, and that's essentially the matrix of your health. And that's exactly why I don't want somebody obsessing over the number on a bathroom scale. If you weigh 5 pounds more 6 months from now, but you've added 5 pounds of lean muscle, lowered your body fat percentage, reduced your visceral fat, gotten stronger, and improved your metabolic markers, I don't really care. The scale went up. That's progress. On the other hand, if you lost 15 pounds, but lost a substantial amount of muscle along the way, that's a very different conversation. So instead of asking how much weight did I lose, start asking how did my body composition change? And how much lean mass do I have? Why is my body fat percentage? What is my body fat percentage? How much visceral fat am I actually carrying? Am I getting stronger, right? Performance gains. Am I maintaining muscle while I'm actually losing fat? And those are the numbers that give us a much clearer picture of what's actually happening. Because ultimately the goal isn't just to build a smaller body. The goal is to build a healthier, stronger, more metabolically capable body. And that's the philosophy behind the way that I'm coaching, my approach. And you guys are welcome to contact me for more information on this. So, well, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. And thanks for being here with Kinetix Performance Coaching, your home for information on strength, nutrition, and longevity. We'll see you next time.